Hey, everybody, welcome to After Dark. This is your host, Jeff Jones. Tonight, I'm going to do something a little different and something that we haven't done on this show yet before, and that's to take a look at a trailer. And tonight, I got a special guest, uh, Mystic Jinx Thinks, also known as Jinx. Hey, Jinx.
Hi Jeff, how are you? Hi everyone.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Looks like we got a lot of people out there in the chat. Becca, Jack, Darkside, Sean, Kelly's here. Awesome. So I didn't really have a plan for today's show, and this is something that I believe in the comments had been mentioned earlier, that to cover this, to talk about this trailer for Convicting. So that's basically all today's going to be about. Probably won't run 3 hours like last episode. Not that that's bad. What a great episode, by the way. Again, thank you, Kel, for such a great um, interview. 3 hours. It was fantastic. But today, and I've never done this before. I've never really reviewed a video online, so it's going to be new territory for me. As you guys know, I do have a little bit of a film production background, so I'm going to be trying to tap into some of those critical skill sets that I picked up along the way. Um, Before I get started, I'm just going to lay out kind of what I planned today. I'm going to show the trailer, but I'm probably not going to show the trailer in its full length. You can go and watch that. We might watch a little bit of it, but I'm probably going to be stopping it a lot and making commentary on it. And so I do want to say that these are only my opinions. I do hope that someone buys this. In no way, shape, or form should you watch this video and be like, oh, no one should buy this. Because you should buy it. Someone should buy it. Why not? It's got valuable content, whether you like it or not. There's some interviews with Ken Kratz and crew, so there's got to be some value there. So anyway, I don't want anyone to be dissuaded that's potentially in the market to buy this thing and then say, "Oh no, you should listen to Jeff. He trampled all over it. It's a bad idea." That's not my intention at all. So I just wanted to kind of put that disclaimer out there. I'm
Well, I said
excited.
I would buy it for 1 cent for his 2 cents worth.
Hey, I'm on the tape. Like, I honestly, I think that. Well, go ahead. What do you think about this, Jinx? What's your take on it?
um, I would like to see the interview in full with Rookie and Ken Kratz, where that was there's more than one trailer out there. There's what, three or so. So
Right.
that was the last one released before this new one, and yeah, I would like to see that in full. I'm not sure I would you know pay to see it myself, but if it's on a streaming thing, I would watch it. I watched a couple other shows that were, about this case, about Stephen Avery, that weren't my opinion, but I watched them just to see how it was, how it turned out, and I see all of the like the "So Did He Do It?" I don't know. Think I told you about that before. The "Did He Do It" episode on ID,
Mhm.
Reputation of Evil. I watched that when I first watched Ma'am. I saw Ma'am first, and then I was looking for everything Stephen Avery, and I watched that. And there was such a misconception of all of the evidence in that dramatized version of the case, and it was much of Mike Griesbach's book, which shows how much stuff he got wrong in his book. I don't even have to read it because I saw it on TV. But yeah, I use it against him, so it's nice to have it because you need to hear these people talk so that you can hear the inconsistencies, right? Like in their stories, in their plots. So yeah,
I
I'd be
agree.
interested to see it, but I'm not gonna pay for it.
Well, I guess if you're saying purely, like, let's say you're a distributor, you're Netflix or Hulu or whatever, Amazon or even another like smaller distributor, you know, there are people like me and you that want to see it, and if it's on the streaming service, we will watch it, whether we agree with it or not. So I think
Yeah,
at that aspect, like, I think someone should buy it. There's a lot of interesting things because there's court cases going on that are involving with Netflix, and would Netflix be interested in to see what Colburn says on there? I mean, that's interesting.
I doubt it, since he's suing them.
Well, no, but I'm just saying it's more information, right? It's
Well,
any
of course.
information could be. So I don't know. There might be an angle in it for that. So
I wonder how that would play out if they actually bought it and he's in it.
Who bought it to kill it? You know what I'm saying? Buy it to kill it, or
no, and aired it. Would Colburn then start another lawsuit? I was portrayed badly in this.
So they made another one. So they bought another one. Yeah, that might.
Like if they had bought another one that he's in, it would be interesting to see that.
Yeah, I mean, because wouldn't it wash away some of the BS? I mean, wouldn't it wash away some of that, like, hey, you're putting me in a bad light, and then it's like, okay, so the next movie comes along and puts you in a good light, like, so that's okay. I don't know. It's just so.
I have to wonder if the lawsuit is mentioned at all, because I know Colburn is a feature in this show. He has been seen in the little clips that we've seen, in the little introductions. So I would wonder if the lawsuit's talked about in there. Can you imagine, like, Netflix picking up a show about being sued?
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be a little weird.
It's really funny. I like Jack's comments. He's like, "There's 3 sides to every story: their side, right, your side, and the truth." Yeah, I really like that. So let's see if we can't watch a little bit, and I'm probably gonna stop it and go ahead if there's something that you want to say. I think if you have your YouTube open, Jinx, you're gonna have to mute that. I'm not exactly sure. We're gonna get feedback.
I have it muted. I don't know if I'll be able to hear it unless maybe I have to unmute it and mute my mic here.
We'll see what happens. So here we go. We'll just watch a little bit, and then I'm gonna.
Well, as I understand, I'm here to meet a truther, one of the people that support Stephen Avery and his cause.
Okay, could you hear that? Did that come through for you?
That came through for me fine, but I would ask also the people.
Yeah. Did you guys, were you able to hear that? I'm going to talk about that part actually right now, because I just think that it's so funny that the first thing is, I'm here to see a truther. It's just like, what? Like, what do you think about that? Like, what do you think about that? Like, the first thing in this trailer is combative in a way. Okay, yes, they can hear it. Thank you, guys.
I find it hilarious that they're like, there's the guilters and then there's the truthers. It's almost as like the guilters are saying that there is truth out there, that he's innocent, and you guys are the truthers, and we're just gonna keep saying he's guilty. And it's like, if they really thought the truth was he was guilty, wouldn't they be calling themselves the truthers? I don't know. That's always been weird to me.
It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
The truth, like, what's wrong with wanting to know the truth? But when they use it derogatorily, it almost sounds like they're saying you're just looking for something that's not there. So the word truth doesn't even mean the word truth anymore. It means someone who's gullible, who will go down any rabbit hole. That's what they're trying to say with that. But it doesn't play to me. What's wrong with wanting to find the truth? And I've said this before. If I find evidence that turns me away from my hypothesis, I'll take that, right? I'm not going to go, oh, got to throw this evidence out because it doesn't help Stephen, right? Or I got to throw this evidence out because it doesn't help X character, or not character, but suspect or accused, right? So I'm all about finding the truth, right? That's a bigger conversation for later. So I just think that right off the top, it's already like combative, right? Okay, so let's watch a little bit.
Basically, I just want to ask him some questions about how he dealt the case, some of the stipulations that he put in, knowingly hiding evidence that could possibly help the defense.
So that's an interesting claim there, right? That he's knowingly hiding evidence. And so, I mean, that's a pretty, like, just as far as a filmmaker goes, wow, that's a pretty big thing to say. You better back it up, right? You better have good evidence.
Evidence that there's hidden evidence.
That's exactly what I meant to say.
We all know.
And we know it could have been the gosh darn aliens.
Speaking of hidden evidence, I actually put in an FOIA recently for you know, like the zipper voicemail's been missing. We all know that. There was something else collected at the zippers on the 3rd, and that was a piece of paper that supposedly Teresa had written out, and it had her phone number on it. It had the date, supposedly the date on it. And it was like, well, if you want to advertise your car, you know, give me a call at yada yada, dated. And I've always wanted to see it because they say there's no time on there. She didn't time stamp it or anything like that, but I would be interested to see it because, of course, we can't believe anything they say, and I like to see things with my own eyes. So I FOIA'd a copy of that, and they told me that they cannot locate it.
Can't
that it
find
might
it.
be in the evidence. It might be in evidence, or it might be an exhibit at the court.
But we can't locate it. Well, how do you know you can't locate it if you don't know where it is? I don't know.
There's no evidence ledger number. So if they had a ledger, they could go there and see where to find it. And I don't recall it ever being an exhibit at trial at either one. So
it's like a circular logic type thing, right? Where we can't find it because we don't know where it is, and we don't know where it is because we're horrible at record keeping.
At doing our
jobs. We don't have ledgers. Right.
Yes.
Well, it goes back to that. It goes back to the interview I had with Kate Judson, where it's like, this is why there should be a separation between evidence and law enforcement. Law enforcement is, you know, collar them, and evidence collection and evidence housing is a scientific matter, right? Anyway.
Yes,
so
I do believe it should be held other places. Anyway,
right. I
yes.
think, and I think that's something that we need to keep beating that drum consistently to say that. But so Andy, justice advocate. What do we know about Andy?
Andy's rookie. Okay. Rookie rocks.
Okay.
He's great at research and posts. I'm pretty sure he is or was on Reddit. I don't read a lot of Reddit. I know him from Twitter, so
I was a little confused. And this I don't think is my fault. Okay, this is not necessarily my fault that I was confused, because the first time I saw this trailer, I kind of thought that I thought Rookie was the filmmaker, and I thought the filmmaker had like, I'm gonna come in and talk to you. So now it's kind of shaping. It's making more sense now, as to why this interview was put into place and how it fits in. Okay, so let's watch a little bit.
In their case,
loosely might be called a debate, but I don't really see it like that. I see it as more of a opportunity to educate.
An opportunity to educate.
Now he's a professor,
huh? Didn't he try to go for? No, maybe not. Didn't he try to go for a professor job at some point? I think.
I don't know, but it's just like, now he's an educator. I'm here to educate, but I don't have the case file.
Yeah, that was another interview on another news broadcast.
It was another. Yeah, I'm kind of crossing the streams. That was from another interview where he says, I don't have a case file. So when Stephen and Brendan are guilty, it's, I know for certain what happened. But when it's any question to his work, I don't have the case file. It's just like, who's believing this stuff? That's the thing. Shame on the Guilters for believing that horse hockey.
Yeah, I agree. Shame on the Guilters.
How do you believe Kratz with some nonsense like that?
Yeah, he's here to educate. Well, he certainly educated them that they all follow the same, pamphlet or book. Never waver from, what they were taught.
I like Becca's comment. The only thing you can learn from him is how to create a shitty story. It's so good. This is a fun episode. Okay. Do you have anything else to add, or I'm going to...
Just keep going.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Andy, nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
Ew,
I feel
you touched him.
nervous, but I'm also excited because I think I can hopefully get some answers. On the 10th of November, did you know that it was human bones already?
Look at how he answers. Look at his face.
He's like, wait, what?
I don't have the case file.
A little stoned. Anyway.
Okay.
Yes. So where was the coroner? The county coroner.
give a shit where the coroner was.
Well,
Coroner
that's
has
the law.
nothing to do
But that's
with
the
a
point.
forensic anthropologist.
But
right?
it's all no. But it's all related. Why?
It's
Where
all
was the
related. How is a
forensic
coroner related to whether
anthropologist?
those are bones or not? You know what a coroner does? They walk in and they kick the body and they say he's dead.
Come on.
But he
It's
talks
like,
about the
I'm gonna have to back that part up, but go ahead.
He talks about the anthropologist, but from what I understand, the anthropologist wasn't even on the scene either. And when he was, I think that would be like Ertl and them, they were there, but they could not look at like certain stuff because they're like, oh, it's been tampered with. So like, and they didn't do any protocol of an anthropologist. So why does he even bring up the anthropologist at all? I'm a little curious. The guy who came out was not an anthropologist. He was the medical examiner from Calumet County.
This is the double-edged sword or back talk or whatever you want to call it, because he's tripping him up about, he's saying anthropologist and that's not correct, but he goes around, he talks around it, he doesn't correct him, and he can always go back and say, I don't have the case file, right? So it's kind of ridiculous.
Darkside says, play it again and watch his neck movements.
Okay, all right.
Okay, let's do that. How far back?
I got it. Hold on. Right when he comes to sit, he's going to come and sit down. Probably like...
Look how he sits down. He like practically bends over.
Becca's like, I would have wiped my hand on my pants.
I feel nervous, but I'm also excited because I think I can hopefully get some answers. On the 10th of November, did you know that it was human bones already?
Yes.
So where was the coroner?
Watch his
County
neck.
coroner.
Give a shit where the coroner was.
Well,
Coroner
that's
has
the law.
nothing to do
But that's
with
the
the
point.
forensic anthropologist.
But
right?
it's all no. But it's all related. Why?
It's all related. How is a coroner related to whether those are bones or not? You know what a coroner does? They walk in and they kick the body and they say he's dead.
Okay, wait a second.
Look at this. I love how you pause.
Bones
it
or
in
not?
perfect
You know what a coroner
spots.
does? They walk in and they kick the body.
This part.
But it's all related. Why?
It's all related. How is a coroner related to whether those are bones or not? You know.
Wait, isn't that what a coroner does?
I was watching this show. It was like a home redo show on like HGTV one time. And so they're like going through the house, bringing it down to the bones, and then they're doing the backyard and planting stuff in the backyard, making it all nice. And they found bones on the property, and they had to halt everything that they were doing in the show, everything, and call a coroner in to see if those bones were human. Because if those bones are human, then they have to do an investigation. Why are these bones buried in someone's backyard? And so, yeah, I think the first thing you would do when you find bones is to call a coroner. So I don't understand his whole, all they do is kick a body.
Right. And to be fair, like, does Ken Kratz have any intention of telling the truth on anything in an interview? We don't know. We could guess not. We could guess it's 100% spin, right? But at the same time, how do you not just stop the interview and say, dude, what are you doing? I can't put that, what are you doing screaming at him about the coroner has nothing to do with bones. If you find, what is a coroner anyway? I mean, all they do is kick the body. What?
Well, I'm glad Shawn
which
kept
coroner's
this in
kicking
there.
bodies? Which coroner's kicking bodies?
It puts Ken in a light that I didn't think Shawn Rech would actually put Ken in at first, which is showing his true colors. I mean, look at him. He's defensive. He's like, why would I call a coroner? He's all about defending this case because he knows that this case has been a lie the whole time. Are you playing it? I don't hear it now.
Yeah, it's just muted. I thought we'd just.
Oh, okay.
just see him.
A little distracted.
Sometimes it's nice just to see his.
And they kick the body and they say.
So, like, what I get from him, and he's just trying. It's not about delivering information. It's trying to convince someone, right? That's what.
I almost want to expect him to go 3 snaps in his formation. His neck movements.
Wait, what did you say?
What was it, Kids in the Hall, where he was like da 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 da, and then he'd do a 3-snap formation?
I don't know that one. You gotta send me that. Okay, let's watch a little bit more. I'll back it up a little bit. We'll get the full.
Oh, I'm horrible.
Coroner does. They walk in and they kick the body and they say he's dead. That's as far as their medical training goes.
That's what you get. That's some coroner medical training is. Okay, hey, Coroner 101 today. What do we do? Well, you go on the scene, and I'm going to want you to get your steel toes out and kick the body really hard. So if it moves, they're still alive. If it doesn't, they're dead. And you can go home. Okay, anybody have any questions? That's been Coroner 101 from Ken Kratz. Like, come on, dude.
You're saying that you should bring in that person rather than a forensic anthropologist to tell me who that is?
See, at that point, I would have said, who was the forensic anthropologist that you brought in? Because there was no forensic anthropologist. They brought in Kleeser, or whatever his name is, the medical examiner. He's not an anthropologist, is he?
Not that I know of.
I hate Kratz. I'm sorry, but I hate you, dude.
Fine. Your opinion. These are only your opinions expressed.
These are my opinions, but you drive me nuts, and I wish you would just be honest. You know, if I come over there, sit in front of you, and touch your leg and tell you I know the truth, and to be honest, will you crack?
Just be honest with us, Ken.
I
Just
won't
tell the
lead you
truth,
into any
Ken.
answers, though, but I will. Can you just be honest, please?
I'm just asking questions. Why won't you tell the truth, Ken? Kenneth? All right, let's watch a little bit.
I'm sorry.
And I don't blame him. I mean, if I believed that what was showed actually happened, I'd be pissed too. What is there about Bobby that makes him such a better suspect than the guy who's got all the evidence pointed at?
Look at that smirky, weird face. He knows it was Bobby.
You think so? I think
I don't know.
I don't know that he knows that, but he knows
he knows he was a suspect for good reason.
And he is.
That's why he's
well, the thing is if you take away the questionable evidence, and this is the whole point, that they did a pretty good job at laying some evidence down. It's in the courtroom. According to the court, Stephen Avery did all that. It wasn't planted. So, he's sitting there from a very, arrogant point of view going, hey, I got you. You're gonna have a real tough time unraveling my case. He knows how well it was constructed, but at the same time, loose lips sink ships. Okay, back up just a little.
That makes him such a better suspect than the guy who's got all the evidence pointed at.
That's an answer that you should have answered in the investigation.
Oh,
Good point.
Whoa.
Good point.
Dang. 1 point for Andy.
I did.
You didn't because you.
I answered that investigation. I said, this is the guy who did it.
No, you just deflected the question there, didn't he?
He likes to deflect.
So they were talking about investigating people, and he goes, I did investigate. I found the killer. What do you want? Like, no, you're supposed to tie up loose ends. You're not supposed to
What about ruling out people, not just ruling them in?
Right. And like we were talking the other day on the show, and it's like everybody goes for the first person they look at is romantic interest, right?
Family,
and they didn't
friends.
start there. They didn't start there, right? At no point did they start there. They were actually looking at Zipper's and Avery's, and they had no interest in looking into her romantic connection with anybody.
For me, the first people that should have been looked at were, one, Scott Bladorn, who she was a roommate with. She lived with him. And then two would have been her partner, Tom Pierce. And work your way from there. Ex-lovers. She didn't have a lover. Lovers that she was with recently. Brad Check, Ryan Hillgas, the guy that she talked to on Saturday night who, what was that guy's name? McKenna, I believe. Chris McKenna or something like that. Those people should have been the first to be looked at and ruled out. For the first 2 days when she's just missing, I don't see any of them ruling out anything. They're just like chasing down some of the stupidest leads, like the fax machine. They could have simply faxed something from her fax machine the very night they went there on the 3rd and saw that the fax machine number was off. Instead, they spent 2 days trying to track down this phone number to ultimately go back to faxing from her fax machine to the office to find out that the number on the machine is wrong. You know, it's like, to me, I don't feel like they did any of that initial search. It's like, it's almost like they heard Avery and they were just like, boom, right on Avery, right into Manitowoc. It had to be somewhere there. It was her last appointment. No, she could never have made it home.
It was gifted. You know what I mean? It just seems like it was somebody who made. Anyway, that's a different conversation. But good point. I like that. Okay, let's watch a little bit more of this.
Because all the evidence points to him.
I know that was
Bobby
the theory.
doesn't have any of this evidence.
Bobby doesn't have any of this evidence, and I would attest the evidence that directly points to Stephen was most likely planted. So it's like this double. It's like I just said about the other aspect, where it's like he knows that his case and what it says in the case is X, right? It says that this was all done by Stephen, right? But if you would have planted the same evidence against Bobby, then we'd be in a different picture. And he's for one, he's deflecting the question again, right?
Well, for one, any of that evidence that was found on the Avery salvage yard, other than the key, everything was found outside Avery's house, right? Like, okay, the bullet was in the garage, which would have been easy for anybody to get to. They don't find it for 4 months later, after the property had been given back to the family, giving anybody access to it that lived there, right? They have plates in a car down the road that Bobby could have had access to. The car's in the back where Bobby had access to. The plates are in a barrel where he had access to. Some of the bones are said to be in the Dassey burn barrel. So whatever evidence they had pointing at Avery could also point at Bobby and anybody else on that property.
Ding, ding.
Because the only thing that was technically like in the house that first week, let's say, because we're not even going to go with the bullet, because the bullet just appears 6 months later after it's been, open for people to go in there, is the key in his bedroom. And we all know the key was planted, right?
It was aliens.
It was aliens, we know. So that leaves Bobby and any other person that lived on that property, in my opinion, could be responsible, as that's where all the evidence is found, right? If he's saying all the evidence points to Avery, let's put that evidence into perspective with anybody else who lived on that property. And what really sets Avery apart from that is that key. That's it. Which he basically admits that is, who cares if the key is planted? All this other evidence was planted too.
Smart Duck has a really good comment. This is funny. Good job, Smart Duck. You have to be a third black belt in karate to get a job as a coroner in Manitowoc.
Yeah. And technically the coroner can actually arrest the sheriff. Like, that's the person who has the power to do that. And I think
that's the point. And I think that's the point that Rookie would have got to. We don't know. Maybe he did. But Ken Kratz, again, is derailing the conversation. And that's what he's really good at. I'm
curious. Can a coroner arrest a prosecutor?
An interesting question. I'm not sure.
I don't know the answer to that one. If anybody knows that.
From what I remember, they're saying they're the top law enforcement officer. And I think they can even arrest the sheriff. So if you can arrest the sheriff, I don't know how you can arrest a prosecutor. I wouldn't see why you couldn't.
Maybe that's why he has issues with coroners, because it's somebody who has power over him, and you don't
like that. They have a check on him, right? They have a check.
Yeah. Which
is very important. I mean, ultimately, it's very important for everybody to have a check on themselves, right? Like, you have to have. It's not necessarily a boss. It's not always a boss. It's just someone to make sure that you're not, just to have a checks and balances. Jack says he doesn't think so, but it's an interesting question. Maybe we can get to the bottom of that. All right, let's see what else kind of clue we can hear coming out.
Doesn't have any of the physical evidence. Doesn't have any of the motive, because he lied when he was sleeping. He's just as likely the murderer as somebody whose blood is in the car.
Wait, he just said that Bobby was sleeping. I thought Bobby was watching through the window. Kratz, isn't that what he testified to?
Ooh, look at that face.
This is the guy who did it, because all the evidence points to him. Bobby doesn't have any of this evidence. Doesn't have any of the physical evidence. Doesn't have any of the motive, because he.
We need to meme that face. I'm sorry.
he
Some
lied when he
more?
was sleeping. He's just as likely the murderer.
He lied when he was sleeping. So Ken Kratz is acknowledging that, which is an important point.
Oh, he's saying he lied when he said he was sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So
he was awake.
So he
according
lied
to
when he was
him.
sleeping. So then he did it. Well, no, that's no one's saying that. And this is the kind of more deflection. Thanks, Jack. Exactly. Where it's like that. No one's saying that, right? No one's saying because he lied about when he was sleeping that he must have committed this crime. But Mr. Ken Kratz, if he lied about when he was sleeping, maybe he lied about what he saw, or maybe he didn't see what he saw, or maybe he's not a good witness anymore. That's the point. And
Well,
Kratz
part of the problem
quickly
with that is
derails it.
he's saying there's no motive, but he's lying about when he's sleeping because he's looking at porn, and they were looking for porn as a motive for Avery. So how is that not a motive for Bobby as well? If you're looking for that type of stuff on Stephen's computer because it might point to some kind of motive, like he's into torture porn or this or that or whatever it is, right? So, I mean, if they're looking at that for Stephen, then if he's not sleeping and that's what he's looking at on his computer, then that would be something you would want to investigate because you'd want to rule him out, if not in, which they never rule out anybody.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, let's see what else. We got.
As somebody whose blood is in the car. Are you smoking crack?
Are you smoking crack?
Oh, Jesus. We'll have to rewatch that part. But again, hello, gaslight much? That's how you interview? You accuse the person interviewing you of smoking
what do you
crack?
call it? We should put a crack pipe in his mouth in this picture right here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
well, we know who
once,
had the drug problem.
I don't know what you're saying about you're in it, but let us know more if you can.
Wait, what? They're in it? You're in it?
Well, that's what Fool Me Once says. I'm in it. And I was like, okay, what are you in? You're in it? You're in this video?
Where?
Are you Ken Kratz?
Is that you? I've seen Fool Me Once, I think, before somewhere else. No?
So Kelly has a comment. They were looking for porn, I believe, because it's Stephen's first interview. He said that night that Teresa had come there, he went to bed and he was watching porn.
I think that's the person who has this on their YouTube. They posted it on their YouTube. They were called something else before, and then they changed their name. That Fool Me Once person. I've seen this name before.
Okay,
I think
fair
they're the
enough.
ones who
I appreciate you
posted
watching.
Convicting.
I appreciate you watching Fool Me Once. Hey, come back when it is sold. I hope it does get sold. Come back and tell us. Discuss it openly then.
Are you the one that leaked it on YouTube? Before he did, because I'm pretty sure that's what he says in his tweet as somebody leaked it on YouTube, and I thought that and it's kind of like watching a TV of it and not the actual trailer.
J-Jax is he's throwing barbs out there in the comments section. I don't know, man. This is pretty. He's puffing up here a little bit. I dare say I know more about Stephen Avery than anyone here.
Are you sure that's SA for Stephen Avery and not a stupid asshole isn't Ken Kratz? I'm just kidding.
Oh, see, I'm not with the kids. Your young kids in your.
I'm sorry. I'm in a weird mood today.
Yeah, no, let's have fun with it. It's fine. So this is another good comment where it's like Stephen had given them ammunition for a motive. Exactly. And it speaks to, again, about how honest the guy Stephen is, where he's like, well, what'd you do after that? There's a girl missing, and Stephen doesn't go, oh, watch TV and went to bed. Why? He goes, no, I was watching porn. Like, come on.
But that's how honest he is, right?
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, why would he offer that up if his brain, if he's like trying to hide, she's basically, strewn around your property in the next mile, and you're like just giving up porn information. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't.
They were named Blinders Off before. Now they're Fool Me Once. They're the ones who posted.
Watch a little bit.
The Convicting on YouTube. See, I thought I recognized that name. Anyway.
I'll back it up, and then this leads into the crack smoking gaslight comment. I mean, we got aliens, people smoking crack. I mean, what's better than this story?
The motive because he lied when he was sleeping, he's just as likely the murderer as somebody whose blood is in the car?
I gotta stop quick. There's no just as likely. That's not the point. And again, he's deflecting because and he knows better. And he knows better. Or he should have, or is Marquette Law that trashy of a school? I don't know. You tell me. But if they're not teaching lawyers that, I don't know.
Are you smoking crack? That's
find
crazy.
Out. I would find out. You had tunnel vision. I know. I understand. You just said it.
I had tunnel vision.
Exactly.
He just said it. I had tunnel vision.
Well, he said that he had the murderer, so that's all he looked at. He looked at one suspect. That's it. He said that. He said that a few minutes ago. 2 points.
Good job, rookie.
I had the guy who committed the crime.
This is what you said. I have bones and blood here. I have possible stuff here. Let's go over here.
It's hard to argue with that. That's 3. That's 3 good points, you know?
I wonder if poor Ken Kratz thought he was going to change Rookie's mind, and it just did not work. He looks so disappointed on the side profile, don't he?
Certainly does.
Man, I can't change your mind. That's because you're on
crack.
And
it shows. Well, I mean, if he really thinks the guy's smoking crack, then why even try, right? Like, nothing's gonna. Are you smoking crack? Are you gaslighting me? Like, come on, people. Like, when you don't have an argument, right? When you don't have any facts, that's when you start attacking people, calling people names, accusing them of smoking crack, accusing them of being crazy, right? That's
personal.
That's
like
what
it's
you do.
personal. Like it's
Exactly.
personal.
If you had the ammunition, if you had the facts behind you, you would present the facts. That's it.
I give much respect to Andy or Rookie for holding his own against Kratz, because I probably wouldn't have been able. I would have been like, "Fuck you, dude."
You're damn right. You're damn right.
I would have gotten emotional. I'm not a great debater either. I probably would have gotten emotional.
I'd probably be saying, "Bro,
my butt,
bro."
And I would have went off where Rookie handles himself really well. So much respect for his interview, because he does. Really
good job. I agree.
Yes.
And let that be a lesson to anybody in the future. If you come across Ken Kratz, his whole shtick is to derail you and to interrupt you and to get you off of your train of thought, so he can make it look like he did this interview and, I was open. I did an interview. We talked for 5 hours. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you want from me? Well, we want the truth, Ken. We don't want, and it's funny because that's exactly like how an interrogation goes, right? Like, that's how, flip it around on him and be like, you're behaving like someone who's been interrogated, right? Like, whoa, throwing fits and tantrums and telling the cops they're crazy and all that, you know what I mean? So it's a funny way to look at it, to look at the role reverse. Okay, a little bit more and then it's going to finish out.
Tunnel vision.
I guess it was just a couple seconds.
Tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision. Yes. I think it's a good point. I think it's a solid point, because it doesn't necessarily say you set someone up or you planted evidence or you knew that this was this. It just says you had tunnel vision and you didn't get it right. And we're not saying that you did something suspicious or nefarious. We're just saying, hey man, maybe you had tunnel vision. And he's go, but I found the murderer and all the evidence. Yeah, sometimes it ain't that simple. Alice says, you couldn't handle the truth, sweaty boy.
Did you see him sweating? He was sweating.
This is a fun episode. Is there anything in
Rookie
this one that you want to go back to? Is there anything you want to go back to and take another dabble at?
I think we're good. I think we're good. What do you guys think? Anybody out there want anything?
Anybody have any questions or comments about this trailer before we move on to another short video? We'll give them a second because there might be a delay and then they got to type out. But yeah, I mean, that's overall, true. I think about this trailer. It's like, I think someone should buy it. I think that there's value in it, and I think people like me and you are definitely going to watch it more than once. So it's going to get multiple hits, no matter where. I don't know what that monetary number is. I don't know how much they spent on it. I don't know anything about it. The other thing is, like, you have to probably show the whole thing to someone before they would buy it. So they're not probably going to buy it just off a trailer. So I don't know.
Well, you draw interest with the trailer, right? And then
That's right.
you show it to them.
Becca's got 10.
And then
Becca's got 10. I could match that 10. We're up to 20. I bet somebody out there would match 20. We're up to 40. You know,
I said,
could probably raise a couple
only
thousand.
1 penny for his 2 cents.
1 penny. 1 penny.
I'm not overpaying.
You know what would be interesting is, what I want to know what's in it. Like, that's the other thing is it's like, it's Schrodinger's documentary. Like, it either has everything and it has nothing right now. We don't know what's in it. It could be really revealing and it might have nothing. It's just Ken Kratz screaming about smoking crack and it's just, boisterous nonsense. But okay, Alice has got $2 on it. So we're up to 12 from the comments section. Woo.
Maybe we should go fund me a release, money for the release of it. See, the problem is when it does come out, I just want to remind everybody, like, Colburn and everything, that this will be highly edited. It's not going to be a full interview with Rookie and Kratz. It's not going to be the full interview with Rookie and the producers. It's not going to be a full with Brenda Schuler who's in it. It's not going to be a full interview with Colburn or any of the other guests. They're all going to be edited to little bits and pieces, so I kind of find that funny too, because they're all about how them, meaning Kratz and Colburn and the guilters, are always like, oh well, it was so heavily edited that it's making him look like he's innocent, and there's so much more. So when we look at Convicting, if it is more guilty sided, we can just go, well, it was edited to look that way.
Exactly.
Right? So I kind of,
it goes both ways.
I kind of find it interesting that it's okay for them to be appearing in this heavily edited docu-series, but it's not okay for Netflix to have editing in their series. Everything's got to be edited down for time purposes.
Right. I mean, in that instance, I could say we could say this. I mean, if that's the case, then Stephen Avery has a case against Netflix because they left out a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
So are we just going to start suing? I mean, I guess is that the American way these days, just to sue everybody. Okay, what do we got here in the comments? It looks like something backing up here.
I want to know who Fool Me Once is. They have to be somebody that works with Shawn Rech or something.
It's interesting, Hey, Linda, it's nice to see you here. She says they keep on changing the name. They keep on saying they're waiting for a buyer. That's because they're trying to outdo Making a Murderer or Making a Murderer look one-sided. It is interesting. It's, it's hard to make a film about such a popular docuseries that's already been released and to not be tied to that. Like, are you reacting to Making a Murderer? And then you call it Convicting a Murderer, right? And then you drop that. But originally it was Convicting a Murderer, very much tied to in naming of the Netflix series. So I
want to know why they dropped it. Like, just this last little preview of the show, it makes me think there has been a little bit of a change of her, where they're not just trying to put on a guilty looking side, like the cop side, the law enforcement side. And by airing that on Twitter, it kind of gives him a little more credit to what he might be doing, Shawn Rech and his team and everybody. But I don't know.
Interesting. Okay, we got a couple. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Fool Me Once said that it's pretty even, and Ma'am edits were very blatant lies.
Okay, fair enough.
But I read all the records, so I don't see all those blatant lies.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
what I see in the
without
records.
without seeing both of them, I mean, I've only seen one. So, there are some GoFundMe already doing focus groups as we speak. Every doc is edited. Yeah, that's right. No documentary is ever going to give you the full picture unless it's about a 5-minute conversation that took place, and then you could break down the 5-minute conversation. Otherwise, you know what I'm saying?
Episodes.
Like you'll never get everything unless you're like, well, we sat down and this is the documentary about 10 minutes of discussion we had. Like, it's just, I get that. I wanted to read this comment earlier from Cal. As much as I believe this case had certain tunnel vision, I also think when we sit and really dissect the timeline and what they did, they weren't left with much options but to look at Stephen Avery. Right. It was just easy for them to put him in play. Like, hey, last person that saw him, essentially, maybe. That's the record, right? That's what it's looking like. Whoa. Let's just make this happen, guys. You know, we've done it before. Wink, wink, maybe. Let's see here. What else? Got a couple of $15. Becca's up to $15 now. That's good. So
I
we're
kind
like
of
almost
feel
20.
like it's been done, so it might not get picked up by anybody. You know, Making a Murder's been done. Did he do it? Same concept, same thing. Will it be picked up? I mean, how long do they plan on? I don't know if this plans on being a docuseries of 10 or 15 episodes like Making a Murderer was, or is it just like a 45-minute show like on for Dateline? You know, I don't know what their lineup is, I guess, but it's almost like, will people buy it because it's been done before? I don't know.
That's what I think. Like, you know, and then the rebuttal piece, right, to anything is never as popular as the original, right? And this is I don't know. We don't know. I guess a 90-minute runtime, I'm assuming, compared to, you know, a 10-part documentary series. Like, you can't really compare apples to apples, you know what I'm saying? So here's one from J-Jax. He's like, Ma'am was one-sided to a large degree. And I think that is fair to say. But I think the caveat is, according to the filmmakers, they offered up everybody else to be in the documentary. And so that's what they've always said was, well, we said the others could be involved and they would have had their say. And you know, that's still up in the air. We don't know how they would have edited that. So it's not completely fair to say, oh, if they would have agreed, then it would all have been perfect. I'm not naive to that either, but I see what J-Jax is saying. It's, you know, a lot could see that it was one-sided. But I think that's the whole point. The whole point of Ma'am wasn't to say, let's go back with a fine-tooth comb and look and see 50-50, you know, in the Great Equalizer. We want to see if the prosecution got a tick for tack, and then let's see if this one goes for Stephen. No, it was about showing that Stephen was innocent. It wasn't about showing the court process or giving everybody an equal saying in the court of law. It was about demonstrating that this guy was framed twice. And I think that if you buy into that, then you really liked it. If you didn't buy into that, then it wouldn't be for you anyway.
I kind of hope someone does buy it, and I'll tell you why. Because if something else like this goes out on Amazon or Hulu or something else, and people go and watch it, and if they're anything like me, after watching Ma'am, I didn't just make my decision after watching Ma'am. I mean, yes, it portrayed him as this case that was very, what got me right away was not that Stephen Avery was innocent or guilty. It was the fact that the Manitowoc Police or Sheriff's Department should never have been on the property. Okay, that's a total conflict of interest. Whether he was guilty or not was like, does that even matter in this case when these men and women who are being sued in this county, the whole county is being sued, which affects everybody who works for a county position, are allowed, and they're being deposed. Some of them were actually deposed in the case, and they're on the property. So for me, that's kind of like my first thought on this case, you know, and then it was like, then watching it, and it was like, well, yeah, it seems like he's more innocent, and these are some of the other suspects I would look at. And so my first thought was not to just believe it. I wanted to go out and research it for myself. And I think that brought a lot of attention to the case, people wanting to see if it was true. Were they still in prison? You know, all this stuff. So if they put Convicting out there, just think of the new generation of people who might watch this and then decide, even if it isn't evenly based and it is more towards their guilty side, just think of all the new people who would come into this to research it and look for the truth for themselves. And I think that is a great thing.
I was clarified.
More and more people.
And I'm glad that Fool Me Once is in here to correct us. We don't know. I mean, I guess I could have checked the IMDb. I didn't know. So according to Fool Me Once, it is a 10-part series, and it is getting picked up. Or it's like, are you saying that in confidence? Like, and it's getting picked up, or you know for sure that it is getting picked up. There's a lot in it. They have been filming since 2018. Yeah, I don't know how long their production went. You know, how long was their production? I mean, it wasn't 6 years or
It
2
wasn't
years of
the full
production.
10 years
2 years
or
of
whatever that
production,
Netflix
right?
had.
Yeah. So, that's interesting. Thanks for laying that out. I'm interested. I would watch it, and if it's, and as I've said on the show before, if there's stuff that checks out, that's evidence against Stephen Avery, I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to say like, oh, but like, no, we go where the evidence leads. Okay. What else we got in the comments? Well said, Jinx. That's right. So yeah, I mean, and this, Kel brings up an interesting point. I'm going to just read the comment. We'll put it this way: they could go back and make Ma'am 3 with latest updates. Ma'am covers the timeline. This convicting is stuck in the past. Interesting. Unless it has KZ in it with her side, there's no balance. Yeah, very good point. I'm glad to have Kel in the comment. That's right. If you're going to accuse one side of not having balance, well, just let me finish this point.
Sorry.
If you're going to accuse one side of not having balance, and then to not have balance in convicting because KZ is not in it, or there's not a representation from Stephen or Brendan's side, is kind of the catch-22 there. That's fair. I think it's a fair point. Go ahead, James.
There's also the fact that I asked Shawn Rech on Twitter about if the Hallbacks got interviewed, because this is supposed to be a perspective from this, all sides, right? This is the family of the victim. And I was curious to know if they were interviewed, and he wrote back and said they declined. So how evenly based is it if it doesn't have Stephen's side and the victim's side in it?
Interesting point. Oh, I was going to try to get to that IMDb. Maybe I'll get to that in a second. That's the IMDb. Thanks, Jack, for posting that IMDb. You guys can all go ahead and take a look at that. Just to double check. I do want to be accurate. Okay.
Here's a question for Fool Me Once. They say it is a 10-part series. It is getting picked up. Is there enough content left over to do another 10-part series afterwards? And
it seems
how would that
like
all fit into it?
As they said, there's about 2%. There's 50 hours of footage, and I have over 50 hours of footage, and they'll maybe use 2% of. So there's always something you could pull out, But who knows? That's a good question. Is there enough to make more? Is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there enough for if it gets picked up and it's popular? Is there enough for people to get another one? I think it's interesting. As I said before, I hope someone buys it. I hope we get to see it. You don't have to agree with everything, and I think that, to speak to a bigger point, we all need to be better about not taking everybody's word for it. We all need to be better at critically examining stuff. All right, what do we got? Lots of comments. People do like this topic. It is an interesting topic because we want to see it.
I'd watch it just to watch it. I watched all the other stuff. I watched the one that was on the Reels channel, Murder Made Me Famous. I thought there were some interesting statements made by people in that, such as Tom Pierce and stuff, who was interviewed. So I think it'll be interesting to see some of those statements they make.
But there was a question here, a comment earlier, and I think I got lost, but it was about the other people, the other family members that are going to be in this. And I think we see a little bit of them.
I thought I saw a cousin.
So we got 2 more videos. Two more videos, and then good time. So this one is the 54-second teaser trailer. Again, we'll just stop it if there's anything, but it's only 54 seconds.
You did this to my cousin. You took her away from all of us.
I'd like to think I can tell a monster when I see him.
And you show no remorse.
I don't know what the monster talk is.
Now this woman, this was a released, if I remember right, the very first release of this trailer was when, in 2018. Is that right? I think there was a date on it.
2019,
There was,
April 24th.
but there was another one that's the same one that was released earlier. Remember, we saw we had two of the same.
Yeah.
So when did they find out that the bones had been returned? Like, when did that stuff start coming to light in all of the case motions and everything? Was that...
There you go.
Like, so this interview, I would like to know if this interview with her family, this cousin of hers, was this done before they found out about the bones being just chicken bones according to the state, or after? You know, like, did they go and re-interview some of these people after some of the information had come out, or no?
Interesting question.
Anyway.
Worse.
When the evidence speaks for itself, everything leads to Stephen Avery. How did they get away with this?
And I remember thinking to myself, that could have been me.
But then when you look at how they
Yeah,
found
right.
the evidence, it doesn't match up.
Oh my God, they planted this blood.
Clear-cut example of police corruption.
No one gets into law enforcement to be the bad guy.
Is that the most naive thing you've ever heard in your life? I'm sorry, Sarah.
My cousin purposely wanted to be a police officer so he can fuck with kids like he was fucked with by the police department when he was a teenager.
Cross
So...
the board. That's what I'm saying. Like, how naive are you, Sarah? I'm sorry. Like, it's my opinion versus yours, but not in my experience growing up in Wisconsin. Not from the people I know living in Appleton and Kaukauna. That's the way to pronounce that, by the way. Kaukauna.
I would have said that all wrong.
If you're in Hawaii, you would say Kauna, but we're not.
Kakawana. That's
We're
how
in
I would
Kaukauna.
say it.
Pick up yourself some Kaukauna cheese, man. And that's a
And I'll
Kaukauna
probably
cheese right there. I don't think anybody ever goes into law enforcement thinking I'm going to be a bad cop. And okay. And we're
gonna find out
I didn't
later
make
that
a
she's
murderer.
some bad cop.
Exactly.
No, we won't.
Missed
I don't
the
know.
best part. We missed the Ken Kratz. This is the best line.
Example of
I didn't make a murderer.
police corruption.
No one gets into law enforcement to be the bad guy.
I didn't make a murderer. I convicted one.
Look at that smirk.
Come on. Like, that line was like, did he write that?
And that's
Doesn't
how
that
they
sound
became
written to
convicting
me?
a
I'm sorry,
murderer.
but that
Yeah, it
sounds
does
so
sound
written.
For their convicting a murderer, it does kind of. Maybe that's where they got the name.
Look into the lens and say this, Kenny boy.
And don't smile next time. Be serious.
So this is the older one. Now it's just convicting. So, I mean, hey, man, I understand how hard it is to be a filmmaker. And it's really easy here to sit here and criticize. And it's really hard to make a film. So let me just point that out for sure that, you know, we shouldn't be, I don't want to be too critical to another filmmaker. But this is, for me, it's not about the filmmaking. It's about the content that I can pull out of it. Because I'm more interested in Ken Kratz than I am interested in the film or what the film says, because, and I've said this before, that, you know, making a murderer is never going to give you all the info, right? If you really want to know about the case, you're going to have to read it. You're going to have to read, and you're going to have to go through. Just, you know, it's gonna be this huge dedication. You're gonna take months of your life up to just get caught up to what the basics are, not even to know the case very well. And so, for any 10-part documentary, for any 10-part series, I just don't see how any documentary could have anything complete. You're never gonna get the complete picture. That's my point. All right, so let's watch a little bit of, this is the newer clip, the one that's on the Vimeo.
This is not the kind of thing that happens up here.
It isn't?
Yes, it is. Did it freeze or is it just me?
No, I'm frozen because I'm just like, Are you sure about
Stephen
that?
Avery walks free after 18 years in prison. DNA tests prove he did not commit the crime.
Now, 2 years later, he again finds himself tied to a police investigation.
Accused of murdering Teresa Halbach.
They had already targeted this guy. He was suing them.
Hey, I wonder if that flame was from the effigy that Whitney Baldwin and Jennifer Bass had. Just wondering. Anyway.
Well, I mean, and didn't I thought her name was Hall Bach, not Hall Buck. Sorry.
I call her Hall
Maybe
Bach.
I'm being Hall Buck? That's what it sounded like.
Bach. I say Bach.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me too. I don't know. It didn't sound right to me. Anyway.
Some say back too. Hell back. I don't know.
Here's the green.
It's all
the
in
green
people
building.
reading it. Some people say Colburn and they spell it with the URN when it's ORN.
I did that for a long time, and it's Born. Colborn.
Yeah,
Colburn.
Born. And not, but it's
I think Burn sounds better. I like to call him Colburn. Hey, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about someone named Colburn.
I guess they
What
just
is
won
their
their
involvement?
case.
There he is.
Authorities say Stephen Avery's 16-year-old nephew.
The problem with him personally is he's in every, like, he's got to be, like, he's the guy that has to march Stephen into court. He's the guy that has to, like, take him for all the transfers. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's, like, always there. He's just omnipresent.
Admitted his involvement. You're going to put a 16-year-old kid in jail. You better answer some questions.
Oh, there's
You're damn
Angela
right.
Levy. I just saw her in a recent thing about another confession case in Ohio.
Good. I'm glad she's
We, the
sticking with
jury,
game.
find the defendant guilty.
How did they get away with this?
So many people binging on the 10-part series Making a Murderer.
It was an obsession.
You
I
want
want
to
to know who
comment
that
on
guy
that?
is with the bow. Who's that guy?
I don't know. Maybe we know in the comments.
Hey, fool me once. Who's the
Fool
guy
me
in
once.
the bow
Who's
tie?
that guy? This guy.
Why don't they put any of their names up on the screen? In the
Well, I mean, it's probably in the film. It's just not in the trailer.
I know.
Maybe, you know.
I need it in the trailer, people.
But we need to know these things. Okay. Oh, what I wanted to ask you is, he said, you know, it's become an obsession, and I was wondering if you wanted to comment on that.
It sure as hell has. My obsession with the criminal law system and the criminal justice system, my obsession with it, seeing all the errors that were made in just one case, that and somebody being wrongfully convicted twice. Yes, I am obsessed. I mean, that's like unheard of. We've heard of wrongful convictions, right? But we've never heard of somebody being wrongfully convicted twice. And in my opinion, I believe he was. So yes, I would say there is an obsession with it. I mean, look at all my friends. We all say we're addicted. I mean, we're not addicted. We haven't gotten that first step yet of admitting it.
Oh, yeah. You have to admit that you have a problem first.
Right.
It was an obsession.
I remember every episode and just be like, oh my gosh. What?
Who that? Who's that?
But by the way, there is an obsession not only with the people that they call truthers, there's also an obsession with the people they call guilters, because they are pretty obsessed with it too. And that would be, I believe, is a guilter named Brenda. She is on the team for Transition Studio. She wrote, or she fact-checked 2 books. One was Michael Greasebox and one was Ken Kratz.
Remember every episode and just be like, oh my gosh, what is going on here?
The audience for Making a Murderer is absolutely unprecedented.
I was blown away.
Is it?
This guy, I don't like this guy. He got kicked out of Twitter because he was a harasser. He should not even be in the show, in my opinion. They should just cut him completely out. Just bad form.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
Millions of us dissecting and debating the bizarre story of Stephen Avery.
Who can you see? Anybody in there?
You're gonna see me. You're gonna see me. My arm in this probably because they were out there that day. I was there this
I
day.
need to see if people are as outraged.
So the Twitter
Rally.
part is kind of interesting because, like, you know, anybody can say anything on Twitter, and we don't know if it was just like got 1 like, got 100,000 likes. You know what I mean? So that's an interesting take.
I went on a mission to find the truth.
I'm sorry, but the I went on a mission thing, right? Like, and I say this all the time, right? When I'm trying not to interject myself into the case, right? And when you make it about me and my mission, does that cloud your judgment? That's my only question about that. Okay, there's more to the story. Now, I believe this is Highway 157, and I believe you're looking down from behind you is Highway 41, and if you go forward over that hill, is Manitowoc? I think so. Not sure.
Maybe.
I've looked at the map quite a few times. It does have this big hill. Okay.
People were calling from all over the world. One of these days, I'll take you out. I'll get your family. I'll get your kids.
There's my friend. There's Courtney. There's Nosy. There's Paula. There's Wendy. I don't know who's back here. I think that's Richard McAdams' face in the background. There's my blue arm right there by Lisa.
Uh-oh, your blue arm? This is breaking news.
There's Nosy.
Where's your blue arm?
See right here where Ryan's face is in the corner up in your on your right hand side, that hand holding that board and that blue arm coming
the
down.
Green one?
That's me. That's my arm.
Two-tone blue? Two-tone blue.
That's my arm. It was freaking cold that day. It was like the middle of June. I was like, oh, it's going to be warm up there. I'll bring shorts. And it was like freezing.
And if you're near the lake, I mean, you're right on the lake there, so it never really gets. Yeah, I don't know. They have what, like 2 weeks of hot days right on the lake there? Yeah, it's always cold.
Kids.
So let's be clear. Death threats are not okay ever. Ever.
I agree.
Never, ever. It's not okay.
Even reaching out to them just to give their opinion to them directly, I think was a little strange. Like calling them at work or something. Like there's a line that you shouldn't cross, and the people who are doing that are crossing a line, in my opinion. Luckily, I'm not part of that.
And I think they should all be prosecuted. Now, how does that doesn't really have anything to do with the case? That has more to do with the Netflix case than it has anything to do with Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey and Making a Murder, right? So to put that part in is more a reactive or, more of a comment on that case than it is about the initial.
I have never seen a single thing in any documentary more dishonest.
I gotta back up because Earl's crying, but okay. These blanket statements, angry blanket statements about I've never seen anything more dishonest in my whole life. Show me.
See, for me, when I hear that, I think, it was dishonest, that show. Did he do it? Based on Mike Griesbach's first book. That was a very dishonest display of what happened in this case. When I looked at that compared to Making a Murderer, I saw more honesty, more real evidence. Maybe there were some editing issues, but for me, that wasn't the point. The point was I was going to go and research it for myself and read all of the records myself. So for me, I feel like it's not a dishonest in the way that I've seen the state put on a dishonest display of this case in that other show. And that aired before Making a Murderer. So,
I mean, I could probably find, Ancient Aliens is 100% dishonest. It's all about, let's turn this thing that's not real into aliens, right? I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's got to be aliens. Like, so it just says, it takes away your credibility when you're like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Because that's what Ken Kratz just did. What are you smoking, crack? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's gaslighting. It has nothing to do. You're not rebutting anything. You're not.
And who is this
taking
guy? I
on
don't
a
know
point.
who this guy is either.
Well, we
Does
don't know who
anybody
this guy is either.
Who's this
That's,
guy?
that's the other point. That's the other point. If we don't know who
I want
he
to
is,
research these men and
then
women.
why is, like, think about it in a court of law. Then what makes you an expert on this case that you're going to say that the documentary is the worst thing I've ever seen, and it's so dishonest, and it's like, okay, well, who are you? Who are you to say that? Like, what puts you into the conversation? And so, again, we're not working with a full deck. This is just a trailer. So, but it would have been nice to see the person. It would have been nice to see the name, right?
Well, that's why it will be nice if it is picked up, because we will be able to get a little more input. And I'm all about more input, just like Johnny Five. You know,
That's
give me
right.
more input.
Well, more information for, is better than less, right? Okay.
Well, information is power, right?
It's honest.
Hide everything.
Like, talk about editing, right? Talk about editing to us, to spin it. We don't know what. Why is Earl crying? You just throw in Earl crying, and then was that his daughter? I think it's his daughter.
That was
yeah?
Kayla. Yes, that was Kayla Avery. Yes.
And she's saying hide everything, and then they show a picture of the key, and then they're talking about what's going on here. So it's just a trailer. Again, it's just a trailer. It's not the full film.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Avery's family is in it, to be honest with you. So that's kind of an interesting
an interesting point in itself
that I would like to see more said by her and Earl. And I believe Candy's in it too, which is Earl's ex-wife, Kayla's mom.
Which she plays an interesting role in those first days after the arrest, doesn't she? Yeah.
And so does Kayla. Kayla's stuff is what kind of points to Brendan, where they start going to talk to Brendan. Like, he's like gaining 45 pounds, like she's saying that he's depressed and crying all the time. That's, like some of the stuff they said in Brendan's interview to him was about Kayla, what Kayla was saying about him. So yeah, they are very interesting as being, they're Averys. I'm very curious to see what else they have said in this docuseries.
Yeah, me too. A lot of interesting questions coming through the comments. One of them, if you can answer, fool me once, great. If not, don't worry about it. But you say there's more family members in there, and what we want to know is if they were paid, if everybody in the movie, the documentary, was paid to, or if they volunteered their time.
I'm going to say nobody
necessarily
was paid.
Speaks to motive. That's what I would think.
Other
but I
than
think
the
it's an important question
and stuff that are in the show.
Well, they get paid later. They didn't got no money now.
I mean, I didn't get paid for
Okay,
Dateline.
fair enough.
I went on there voluntarily, so I would just think it's kind of the same.
I'm surprised you didn't get paid for Dateline.
I did. I did get a
surprised.
T-shirt and a hat and some hand sanitizer after the fact, after it aired, and I got a copy of the episode.
No, I mean, if it makes a profit, people get paid. If it sells, people get paid later.
But the people who get paid are Shawn Rech, the producers.
That's
who
right.
Got paid
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Guys, the sound.
Fool me
dudes.
once. I was never saying that the Avery family is going to get a cut from this. That's not what I was saying. The money is made after it's sold, and then there's money to be made for the producers or
Transition
whoever was
Studios
involved. Right.
will make some money.
It's right there. You go. Exactly. And they can cut up the contract however they want. There's no standard in that. Like, the producer could take $1. The producer could take 99%. Like, we don't know, and we'll never know what goes on there. So that's not even interesting to speculate. All right, let's watch.
Shake something out of there.
You guys just fucked up my case.
Well, I was looking
You
for that part.
guys just fucked
earlier.
up my case. That's interesting.
I thought it was perfect.
Uh-huh. See, even putting that in there in this thing is interesting. Like, It kind of makes it look like it's not. Maybe it'll be a little more support to the law enforcement side, but definitely not to Kratz. Because they're really making him look like a jerk in some of these.
It's
Not
hard
that
to
that's
make him look
hard.
like anything else. That's the point.
True.
Like,
that's
how
true.
can you edit Ken Kratz to look good? I mean,
Well, they could just edit him out
try.
altogether, but they haven't. They just put it right in there.
The part where he says hello?
I'm here to educate people. The end.
Oh man. I'm just here to educate.
Everything
It's
else
so
is just
important.
bad.
And it's so important for me to go out and educate on a topic that's 25 years old, 20 years old, and I won, and I already wrote a book on it. So you could read all the book that you want, or go listen to Uncle Ken's on the weekends there with Dr. Silkman, and you can listen for yourself. Foul play on foul play, and but he's got to go and educate. I just like, if you want, okay, the reason that's laughable, to go back to that other clip, is like, if he really wanted to educate, he'd go and give speeches about it. But the problem is that nobody wants to hire him for speeches. No one wants Ken Kratz to be their keynote and say, this is how I locked up Stephen Avery. And so it's like, anyway, okay. Watch a little bit more.
It didn't take me long to see that there was some deceptive editing.
Back to the Netflix case. I guess I see why it's in here, because it was generally like supposed to be the people who were not in making a murder and how it affected their life after the fact. So I kind of see.
You see that point, that angle.
Now I have to go look at the what do you call it? Because where you have it paused right now, where it says that it was, like, was it shown in, like, this is the transcript, okay? So was it, who edited that transcript? Was it the transcriptionist who did it at trial that made the mistake, or was it actually Netflix changed it?
That's a great question, and I think,
because there are mistakes made in the transcriptions that you, like, for instance, I believe it was when they say when they got to my head, they put they got in my head or something like that. It's actually not what Brendan said. Something, I remember seeing something to that aspect. Maybe that's not exactly where it was, but it was something. And I realized that the transcriptionists are not always correct in what they're hearing and writing on their transcriptions. So
I mean, that's possible. It's an explanation. I don't know. So anyway,
the question does not even exist. It was spliced together.
Well, if they have a specific claim to that, if they have a specific claim that it was spliced together and that question doesn't exist, I want to see it. I want to see what they're talking about. So again, I'm interested. I hope it gets bought. I mean, I want to see it. I want to, if nothing else, even if I disagree with it, like, I still have a desire to see it. So
Why are you editing my courtroom testimony?
I'm a little confused, because they went from showing trial transcripts for the trial to showing a small part of Walter Kelly where it was from his deposition, and now we're back to the trial transcripts here. So I'm a little confused on that whole spliced together right there.
I mean, isn't it true though? Like, what you just said is exactly what they're trying to say. Why are you splicing up my testimony? And then the trailer itself is splicing up testimony, right? Like, and I know you can't, I mean, as I said, you can't get all the information unless it's a 5-minute conversation to make a 2-hour documentary about, right?
You're right.
Excuse me. But at the same time, I'm not here to say they're wrong or right. Okay, let's see what else.
Yes.
Don't you know we share wives in this family?
Okay. Who is Stephen Avery? At this point, it's irrelevant.
Okay.
It's
Why do you
irrelevant
say
to the
that?
case. Because his character, Stephen Avery's character, has nothing to do with a crime. That's why I'm saying that. And I think it's important. Anyway, so now we have hearsay. Now we have a woman. Okay, she heard someone say that we share wives in this family. Who is this?
They share wives? Is that what he said?
Don't you know we share wives in this family?
Wives. We share wives. Not wives. Wives.
Oh, interesting.
Unless she
So
said
she's saying
wives.
they're a bunch of swingers? Maybe they're sharing both wives.
Right. So I'm just saying now in the documentary, I'm sure we'll find out who this is, but who is this saying hearsay things about character issues? And now you throw in a picture of Stephen, which is like groping Jody, or just, they're playing around with the camera, making it look, making him look in a bad light on purpose. Anyway.
Well, we do know that
Okay.
there is the fact, like, let's not be shy about it. The Hallbacks share families too. I mean, Miss Hallback lost her husband and married the brother. So yes, that does happen in these families, not just Avery's family. We can say that it happened in Avery's family too in some way, right? Like he was married to Lori. Lori was his first wife when he went to prison in 85. He divorced that wife while in prison, and Pete Dassey, was married to Barb Janda, who then divorced Barb Janda, and Lori Avery and Pete Dassey got together, thus sharing somewhat of a wife, right? Like, and a husband. They then got married. But the same can be said for Teresa Hallbach, right? Like, she married the brother of her deceased husband. Had kids with him.
It's actually a lot more common. Okay, I went to high school with this kid. It's really messed up situation with jails involved too. Okay, so the guy gets this girl pregnant, but then he goes to jail, and while he's in jail, his brother gets her pregnant, and so there you go. It's actually more common than and who's this soapbox lady? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think Checking Convictions was like, what does it matter? What does it have to do with who killed Teresa Hallbach, right? Ultimately, it doesn't relate. So I guess
Fool me once is saying that Stephen ordered him to sleep with Lori while he was in prison to keep her faithful. Earl was 15 at the time. So I have a comment about this. I know about this. I know that it's in the records. I know that Stephen also told the police officers when they were looking into it that his wife was having sex with his 15-year-old brother. The fact that this was said, whether or not Avery told him to do it, he was 15 at the time and she was an adult. Is that not sexual assault to a minor? Whether it be she was a woman and he was a young man? I mean, is there?
You're damn right.
There's no difference there, and yet the Manitowoc Police or Sheriff's Department totally ignored that too. So let's just put that out there.
It's a great point. That fine, if she did that, then she should be arrested.
She should be the one in trouble, not Stephen for telling his brother,
Exactly.
go sleep with my wife. The fact that Earl actually slept with the wife, if he actually slept with the wife, I don't know if that's actually true or not. I know there has been comments. It is rumored. I don't know.
Knows?
I've never seen that.
And it's all hearsay.
It's all, but it was never investigated by the Sheriff's Department, who was told that this adult woman was sleeping with a 15-year-old. Anyway.
Watch a little bit more.
All you have to do is deny everything.
I mean, that's specifically cut to make him look bad because it's taken out of context, right? Talk about editing again. We don't know what he was talking about there. We don't know what, and even if he was, that's what I would say. All you got to do is deny everything. Like, it's not that hard. You don't have to think about what I did. You don't have to think about how the motive or any of this shit. Just like, dude, if you don't know, then you just say you don't know and deny it, right? Like, and I think it's not really fair, especially what we know what they did to Brendan and their techniques of how to get people to say what they want. And I don't think it's really fair, but okay.
It stopped being about a woman who lost her life and started being a contest.
Now, see,
I take issue with this. Okay, I'm glad that you got to it before I did. Okay,
I
let's
think
run
it's
that one
sad
again.
that they
Stopped being
forgot
about
about
a
the
woman
victim,
who
just
lost
let
her
it
life
frame a
and
man.
started being a contest.
Stop
Yeah,
you right there.
contest.
It started to be a contest?
That's what I heard. Rewind that a second. Let's listen to it, and I'll shut up for while you play it this time.
It stopped being about a woman who lost her life and started being a contest.
A contest for what? What's the contest?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I don't understand. Was the
contest between the state and the state and the accused, or are they talking about a contest now between the guilters and the truthers?
I believe that's how I'm taking it. That's how I'm taking it, is that it's a contest between truthers and guilters, or who has more supporters, or who can get more people on Twitter to support. You know what I mean?
She's also another guilter, by the way, known on Reddit.
So, well, it kind of speaks to the guilt. I could tell by someone who's a guilter by saying that, because I would never say something like that. I would never be like, it was a contest. A contest about what? A contest to who can find more evidence for their side? Like, isn't that what law is? I don't know.
Fool me once says, I would guess to see who could solve her murder.
Okay, if that's what's suggested, then that's interesting, and more reason why I want to see this. Beckachu makes a great point, Jeff, because I don't forget about Teresa, and I don't either, Beckachu. And I believe that Becca actually regularly talks about Teresa, and we just had a conversation about how we thought that Teresa was the coolest one in the whole family, and that if we wanted to hang out with any of the Hallbox, I'm not speaking for Becca, I'm speaking for myself, it would be Teresa. And Teresa, for me, she was a year older than me. I'm the same age. I'm from the same place. You know,
I think about her all the time, and I'll tell you why.
Go ahead.
She was born one day before I was. So my birthday is the very next day. So like whenever I have my birthday, I think about her the day before. She's the day before me. So it's hard not to think about her. And what they did to her, I think Wisconsin failed Teresa. Like, that's what I think.
I do too. Yeah, I think it was a big failure, and they didn't get her justice. I think that's true. I don't know. I'm not really interested in guilter communities, but for them to say that they a forgotten victim, or if that's what this is inclining to say, I don't know. Again, it's a movie. It's a film. It's not about. It's someone's interpretation, right? It's a creative endeavor. Okay.
Making a Murder fooled a lot of people.
So I knew I was going to have to stop a lot. So if you like Making a Murderer, you're a fool. If you believe Making a Murderer, you're a fool.
Is that what she said?
Making a Murderer. Well, she said Making a Murderer made a fool out of a lot of people.
Oh.
Which part is the foolish part? And I hope that that's explored more in this interview. Which part is the foolish part? Because I don't like to be fooled, and if I have been fooled, I want to know. Okay.
Well, that's the problem. They say that Making a Murderer made a fool out of all of us. Now, I'm sorry that I take offense to that. Like, Making a Murderer opened my eyes to research things I was unaware of, and that to me is a good thing, to make people think, to make people go look and research and look into things. So for them to just say that they made a fool out of us because we believe in this, like, that's the whole thing. We watched a docuseries and we came to this conclusion of they were innocent. That's not how it went for a lot of us.
At the end of Making a Murderer,
makes them assholes, in my opinion. Makes them the fools.
So in my mind, when I finished the Making a Murderer episode 10 and I put the remote down, I said, I don't really know, but I think Stephen Avery deserves a new trial. That's all I could say. That was my big takeaway. It wasn't that Manitowoc framed him. It wasn't anything about depositions, really. It wasn't about, it was the guy deserves a new trial. There was just too much funny business with Manitowoc cops being there when they shouldn't have been there. That enough right there. The fact that they were there when they weren't supposed to be there. That's enough for me. Anyway, so at the end of the day, I didn't feel fooled. I didn't feel like, and frankly, getting a new trial is not an admission of his guilt or innocence. All I wanted was a new trial because I thought that it was ridiculously portrayed. The fact that Ken Kratz went out and discussed this case in the media and told children to get away from the TV and did some dramatized version. It's unheard of. It's totally inappropriate, and it should have been thrown out. The case should have been retried with a real prosecutor, because I just don't see how you can. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but
no, I agree.
Do you have any comments?
I think that in my opinion, I think Kratz should never have brought these cases to even trial after finding out Manitowoc Sheriff's Department personnel who had been deposed in his case were on the property at all. Okay. At that point, his Colburn's integrity was being questioned in the deposition because of this call that he had received in 95 about Gregory Allen in Brown County. He wrote a letter, they safed it, they didn't get it until they started the lawsuit. It wasn't included in the investigation by the DOJ in 2003. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and he was part of that, Colburn and Lenk, and yet these are two officers on the scene in the trailer, in the backyard, over there, on Cuss Road, over there, over here. They're all over the property. For me, that is so big of a conflict. And some people say, oh, well, it's not a conflict technically because they didn't technically have to be off the property. Okay, well, let's say that is the case. But Ken Kratz was like, he was going to, the whole reason that Calumet County was taking over the case and he was the special prosecutor was to not only avoid the implications of impropriety or the actual impropriety, but also any appearance of an impropriety. So did he fail at that? Yes, because it may not really have been technically by law an impropriety for them to be there, but it is an appearance of one. So, and on that note, it's like he failed at that. That was his speech. It was not only, to avoid a conflict of interest, basically, or an impropriety, but the appearance of one.
Statement sounds
there was
like
nothing but an appearance of impropriety across this whole case.
Exactly. It's like only someone who's trying to pull some shit would say that. Well, we're doing this to just and I've said this before. There is no difference between Calumet County and Manitowoc County, except for one is in a geographically different place. They partner up. Law enforcement is like that because that's how it works. When you only got 2 fire engines and you need 5, they supply them, right? That's fire department, but let's use it. We could use it in the police scenario, right? Like you need a wrecker or you need a Jaws of Life, and Calumet doesn't have one. Manitowoc sends theirs. You know what I'm saying? Like to pretend that there's when you have a prosecutors conference and you go to Madison for a conference to talk about what's going on in the state, you meet people from other counties now, if they would have said, we're bringing in a prosecutor from Madison or we're bringing in a prosecutor from Milwaukee, I would have said, oh, well, that shows that there's no impropriety because these people aren't working in the same circles. They don't know each other. They may have known each other from law school, but to come out and say that always bugged me too with Ken Kratz. Well, there's no question, guys, about impropriety. So don't come back later and say that. It's just like, who's buying this? Come on, man. You think we're idiots? Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And then the lack
that
of
I wanted to add
on all of it, Like no grit of the bones, no they screw up the bullet, they, you know, there's all of these other protocols that are also just kind of let down by the state. Like they didn't need to actually do these protocols for Teresa Halbach. Makes it very suspicious as well. Not, and you know, it makes it suspicious on the state, not on, you know, like when I first came into this, I had some doubts about Avery. You know, I was reading some of the records and thought, and you can see some of those comments on the Netflix Making a Murderer web sleuths, where this all started for me, was over there. So you can see where I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. I'm not going to say I came into this going, yeah, you know, Avery's definitely innocent. I saw an impropriety throughout the whole case that I questioned. I had doubt. I started with doubt.
I agree with you. And then I want to counter the statement that was kind of made. I'm going to back it up just a little bit because I want to just, so people know what I'm talking about. I think it's after the forgotten victim
Lost her life and started being a contest.
Making a murder fooled a lot of people.
So fooled a lot of people. Okay, so think about that. The statement is that it fooled a lot of people, and that people that watched it were gullible and were able to be swayed. Now, I can counter that by saying I know people in Wisconsin for sure that have said this almost verbatim. I know he's guilty. I'm never going to watch no documentary, and you can't change my mind. So, as much as it may have swayed people's opinions, it also had a lot of people digging their heels in. And I don't know if that's really reflected fairly
Couldn't
either.
it be
So
said
that's just,
that they were all fooled by the press conference that Ken Kratz put out there?
there you go.
On the 1st
There you
of
go.
March or 2nd of
Show me
March.
evidence of a rape, you fools. Show me an evidence of a rape and a murder in Stephen Avery's trailer. Who got fooled? You know what I'm saying? So it's a statement. Anyway, I'm not here to rebuff everything in this trailer, and these people are their opinions, just like mine are just my opinions.
Right, mine too.
I'm not here to rebuff everything. Proceeds to rebuff everything. Okay, let's watch a little bit more.
Let the viewer decide. Give them.
This is the part that I think irks me more than any other snippet of the entire trailer. This is the part that I was like, that has really bothered me over the last few days, and maybe the whole reason why I wanted to make this. And so let's just back her up just a little bit and hear this part again.
Murder fooled a lot of people. Let the viewer decide.
Let the viewer decide. But then when we actually decide on the View, then we're fools because we watched a docuseries and we decided on what we watched. I mean, isn't that a contradicting themselves?
My mic is working. I just don't have anything to say to that. Like,
oh man, sorry. That's just.
Oh, no. Okay. So, and ultimately, the viewer is supposed to decide whether they're guilty or not. That's your position. That's your
on
position,
something
and
we've
that's your
watched or viewed, but yet we're made fools by watching and viewing and making a decision on making a murderer. But yet we're supposed to let the viewer decide on what this.
I don't understand. I don't understand it. You're supposed to decide on the guilt or innocence. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. You're exactly right. But yeah, we do need to know more. Maybe it's not fair. Maybe we're taking her out of context, and that is fit. And that's so. As you can see,
well, then she has no one to blame but convicting.
Well, when this thing does come out, and we can get our hands on it for $14.99 or whatever, I will definitely have. We have to talk about this again when we can see more of it. But it's just. I don't know what you guys think about that in the comment world, but in this opinion news era, that we're just so we're so taken by other people's statements and other people's opinions. And there's this person on TV that said something interesting. I'll go listen to them. And then somebody said something interesting that opposed them. Okay, now I'm on that side. And we're just playing this ping pong ball of opinion. And it's like at some point you got to say, well, yeah, of course, if it's let the viewer decide, then you're not in it for, I guess you're not in it for the truth. You're not in it for the result of finding, you're in it for entertainment. And if you're in it for entertainment, then, you know, good luck selling your product. You know, that's all I can say. Well, okay,
Basically
so
saying to ma'am,
yeah,
why twist
right.
everything? Let the viewer see all of it.
And I think that, okay, if I'm gonna, I'll be directly answering that question. As I said when I started this video, there's no way to see all of it. There's no way to show every piece of evidence. There's no way to, and at some point, you have to make it presentable and digestible to the mass public. I get that, right? So if you, to see all of it, okay, but isn't that what we were just saying about, you know, this trailer? Like we can't see it all. We haven't seen it all, so we really can't judge. So at the end of the day, are you saying, well, if you can't see it all, you shouldn't have a judgment? You shouldn't make a judgment? Well, I think most of us, at least in this circle, have just said we didn't really make a judgment. Okay. Here's a great one. I really like this one. Just give Zellner all the evidence, and then we can squash this and we can all move on with our lives. You know what? Just break it open. Show us. Test the rev. I want to see those fingerprints.
If it's so up and up, why won't they? Why not retest it all? It should all show the same thing that they found in 2007, that they were guilty, right? So why not? Why the dragging of the heels on all of it?
Give them the whole story.
Too.
Oh, you did say that. I'm right. Give them the whole story. Fair enough, but the viewer shouldn't be deciding anything. The viewer should, well, they have to decide their own. But you know, it seems.
But we're not
like
even going to get the full story in Convicting, because of course it too will be edited. So like,
right.
Let's say Earl had a 2-hour interview. There only may be 10 minutes of that interview actually depicted in this. You know what I mean? Candy may have had an interview. There might only be 3 minutes of what she said. You know, there might only be 20 minutes of Brenda. There might only be 10 minutes of Kratz, and you know, it's all going to be edited too. So are they going to be putting on a complete story, or will it also be a little twisted by editing, as it's not going to ever be all of it?
Well, I just had to check out our buddy over here, Ken Kratz. He just
I really need to see that face again where he looked like the devil, so we can put some horns on him.
We're so immature, aren't we, over here at After Dark? I'm glad that
I don't have any problem admitting it. I got to keep my humor about things, or I would go mad.
I think you're right too. I think ultimately, you know, we all want to see this. I hope somebody buys it. I hope somebody buys it soon. It did. I mean, did they say that earlier? I'm sorry, fool me once. Can you confirm? Is this thing in the process? Is it in negotiations? Is something going on there? Can you give us a little hint as to, or is the project moving along?
They made it sound like it is going to get picked up.
It is. Okay. It's in negotiations, or okay. So any timeline on that? Fool me once. Do you have any timeline for us? Doesn't have to be like, you know, not this week or anything.
Now here's a question. If someone picks it up, say Netflix buys it, say Hulu buys it, and it gets bought by someone. Now, will it be everything that they have done in the edited form, or will they also make edits to the production before they release it, the person who bought it? Is there another editing process after someone buys something like that?
I don't think typically they're supposed to. I think that would I don't know. That seems
Like they
strange that
buy
they
the
would recut
director's
it, but
cut, but they only
I
decide to
think
air
they,
5
if you have
episodes and cut it down. I mean, can they do that? Is that something that I
I
don't know
think
how
that's in
that'll work.
negotiations. Not typically, but I think if they were like, we're going to buy this, but we're going to cut it down to 5, that would be in negotiations. I doubt that the filmmakers would want to do that. I doubt that anyone would be. If it's
They
already
say
cut,
no, Shawn will not allow
yeah,
edits.
yeah. But he's a filmmaker, so that's a funny thing to say.
But once they buy it, I mean, is it
No,
his
I
anymore?
know. I'm just it's.
I guess it would be all in the contracts and
That's
stuff.
a legalese. That's a legalese
Yeah.
question about who owns the master and are you? Yeah, so I don't.
What exactly he's signing away in his
And all of
his
that stuff is
negotiations.
different for every
Right.
project, and we wouldn't be able to know.
Just something I wasn't aware of.
So, I guess I'm just glad that I'm just was curious to figure out where was the picture we're looking for. This one. I'm gonna make a meme of this devil face guy. Oh, that's devil horn. Is that it? Yeah, I knew I'd get you to
No,
laugh
the
yet.
one that he had, it was like squinting eyes, and he looked really demon-like. It was during that part though when he was talking to Rookie.
Interesting. I mean, come on, that's not a blood drop. That's what I want to see. Show me how blood falls off somebody's finger like that. I'll cut my finger open. Jeez, if it's for science, I might have to.
Even looks like there might be a little smear right up here, and they're not actually showing this whole picture. But if you go up some, it looks like somebody swished it and then actually dotted it right up above. It's a little
I always
higher up
thought
here
it
on
looked
the
like
plastic
somebody
on the
was like
edge.
it was like a trial and error. Like this isn't the first one. It looks like it was wipe it off. Okay, try
Wipe
again.
it off. Try again.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was. I don't know what that white gunk is like directly.
And there's like a little piece
of
of blood right next to that too. It looks like
They look like two notes. Actually, they look like 2 notes.
somebody was
from a
playing some
note.
music.
Right, somebody's playing 2. So somebody who likes music is definitely killer. So
I wonder who's got a
figured
music
that out.
background in
Needs to
in
be
the
figured that one out.
sheriff's department. It definitely looks
All
like
right,
a Q-tip.
so I mean,
I
it's
just-
hard to deny that. It's hard
Yeah.
to deny that that's in a little swipey swipe, little smudge. Kel is out there. Kel did some blood. It can be controlled. It can be a control.
I wish Cal would release her
can be
little experiments that she did on the blood. Me and her have talked about it.
Not a cotton swab, she says. Well, that doesn't mean that it was,
I am not. I am innocent of all charges. I've been told I'm killing someone.
kill anybody. This is a murder-free podcast.
Yes. I think I'm gonna have to start pleading the 5th.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Fool me once, because you were really helpful to go through this. So, at any rate, good luck to the result. I'm glad that if you sold some footage or made money or whatever, good for you. Or you just had a good film, you're just proud of the work you did. That's fine. Good for you. We all want to see it. We're all interested. in this.
So I
it's
want
like,
you to
that's the other
come
thing.
back and talk to us after it's released and reveal who you are in there.
I think I need you on more often because you took the thought right out of my head. Yeah, for sure. Fool me once. Come on back after this thing is sold. Bring your extra footage if you can pry it loose, and if you can get any of it, or just give us.
Yeah, that's a question. Do you guys get to see that?
Process.
I would like to know that. Do you guys get a copy of your whole interview from Convicting or anything? Because my Dateline, they didn't give me that. Like, I had a 2-hour interview. All I get is the Dateline episode. So I'm just curious if you guys get that footage.
You get the full interview, yeah. I mean, I would like to see that Ken Kratz interview. Of what we saw, I'm really only interested in the Ken Kratz interview. I really don't care what Colburn says. I really don't care what Avery's. I'm a little interested to see why Earl is crying. I'm a little curious about that, but ultimately, I don't really care about the family reactions. I'm like that Ken Kratz stuff is just so. It's just it's like a nice cup of pudding or something. You just want more spoonfuls of it, where you're just give me some more. Because he's like, "Are you smoking crack?" Well, he's just gaslighting people and screaming, and it's just.
I
like,
want to know what
Come
fucked up
on.
his case. What fucked up his case? What fucked up his case? What fucked up
Jack?
his case?
Jack says he knows. Jack says if he's willing to come out and if he's still here, Jack says he knows what that's referring to, but I don't want to put him on the spot either.
That's why I didn't say I know too.
Well,
but
it's
I want
at this
everybody else.
point-
I want to see it in more content, no matter what. Oh, my phone is going off.
Yeah. So you're gonna put it in a film, there's film festival talk and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, interesting. It's definitely there's a good one. Oh, the Hugh Glamour shots.
I am a
You got it.
surprise. I am a surprise. Are you in any of the trailers? None of them? Not in any. No trailers. Not in any of them.
Fool me once. You were interviewed for how long?
And not in any of the trailers. Are you surprised? You're surprised you're not in the trailer, or you're surprised for the show?
And
we gotta wait for them to actually hear this so they can answer.
I think this is Ken Kratz's glamour shots right here over the shoulder.
That is not no
Gray
glamour
steel.
shot.
Brown steel.
Let's just depict all of his movements.
What was that laugh? That was like somebody letting air out of the balloon really fast.
I don't know. Quit talking about my laugh. You're embarrassing me.
Thank you. Fool Me Once has been interviewed several times.
In many places. Did they fly you anywhere?
Okay.
Was it in Wisconsin?
Good question. Can we play 20 questions?
We're going to figure out who you are.
Don't give us too much info.
Be careful what you say to me. I might just a surprise, not a prize. Oh, that was a booby prize. He's a booby prize, not a prize. He's like,
okay.
Well, you picked the wrong door and let's make a deal or whatever.
Here's a guess for the crowd out there.
Are you on crack?
Is that what he says? That's the question. What is Ken Kratz saying next? Anybody want to guess?
Hit play. Let's see.
Bobby, that makes him such a better suspect.
Oh,
he said
it was
Bobby.
the O and Bobby.
Bobby, yeah.
Bobby.
3 different states. So Ohio, Wisconsin, and wherever you're from. I don't know. Let's play the guessing game.
3 different states.
Yeah.
I like this picture of Ken myself. This
Are
is,
you? Do you believe they're innocent? Do you believe they're guilty? Do you have an opinion either way?
Fool
once?
me at once. Come on in. Let's hear what you got to say. All right. Well, just breathing heavy into the microphone. I think that's the signal that we're towards the end of the show, folks.
Yes. I'm waiting on answers, is what it is. You know, I mean, I have to wait for the delay.
Yeah.
About I'm asking "Fool Me Once," and now I don't remember my question.
Well, you were like, what did they ask you? Where was it?
Oh, I gotta see your icon. I guess I'd have to open. I don't see it really big on this tiny little thingy. I'd have to go to your page and look at it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I asked if
look at
they
the
are
icon.
guilty or
Okay.
if they believe that he's guilty or if they believe he's innocent. And they said, "Are we really doing this? Look at my icon. It's guilty."
Oh, okay.
So that's interesting. I'll be interesting to see your part, your surprise part in this show if it ever gets picked up.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to tell us who you are. Fool me once. I mean, unless you're on the documentary with that handle. You know, you could just disclose who you are. You could just say it.
I just curious.
It's not illegal.
Being a guilter and knowing that did you see any conflict of interest with the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department being on the property? Like, even if you're a guilter, wouldn't that bother you that somebody that's suing you is the one investigating you? Doesn't that bother you at all?
It's a good, fair question.
Like, say your neighbor and you are in a fight and you cut down his tree that was on your side of the fence, you thought, but it's really on his side, and now he's going to sue you, and then all of a sudden a murder victim's property is found on your property, and they let the neighbor come in and actually investigate you. Would that be okay with you? I mean, it would not be okay with me. You were a well-known truther, and now you're a guilter. So that does sound like Donovan. Anywho.
Becca says she won't lynch you. We're not lynch crew. We're not in a lynch crew. Everybody's welcome to have their various opinions, and everything's yeah. We're a soft crew here. We're not gonna lynch anyone here. It's not about that for any of us. At least it's not for me. Not on this podcast to be about like throwing daggers and stuff. I mean, to try to persuade someone, that's fair. But I honestly, I really don't care what you think. I really don't care what most people think. I'm not trying to persuade anyone, and if that's a contest of how many people I can persuade, it's not about that. It's more or less, I mean, this podcast specifically is about like my own little journey, but yeah, I don't think
starting
it's
to get a
about
little
throwing
crackly,
daggers.
by the way.
Oh, well, I guess it's time to go.
Mike is saying goodbye. Sad enough.
Warm it up a little bit. Okay. Thanks everybody for being here. We'll be back on Thursday. I'm not sure what we're gonna do. What topic? But stay tuned. And as always, I appreciate you guys staying up after dark.